On the day the triple award-winning actor announced his wedding date, my wife of 10 years murdered me. She blamed me for pitying her, for saving her, claiming that my intervention caused her parasitic mother to target me, forcing her to pursue me. Consequently, she missed her chance with her one true love. After being reborn, I returned to the very day I saved her from domestic violence. This time, I decided to respect her dignity, respect her fate, and walk right past without looking back. On our 10th wedding anniversary, Ivy Thorne killed me with her own hands. During lunch, her expression was off. She was smiling, but there was an inexplicable, desolate coldness radiating from her. I immediately noticed a shift in her mood. "What's wrong? Something on your mind?" Ivy didn't answer me. "Caleb, do you know what day it is?" I curved my lips into a faint smile. "It was just our anniversary. Do I really have to guess something so obvious?" Ivy lowered her eyes, elegantly cutting a piece of her steak. "Today is the day Julian gets married." Hearing the name Julian Sterling, the smile on my face stiffened, and the delicious steak in my mouth instantly tasted like ash. She had loved Julian Sterling for 10 whole years. Late at night, when her depression drove her into madness, she would smash things until blood splattered the floor, yet she would scrawl Julian's name over and over again. I was the only one who could calm her down, and only by pretending to be him. Sometimes I wondered if my persistence had been the right choice. I stayed silent because I didn't know what to say. Ivy looked at me calmly, her aura gloomy, her eyes swimming with an emotion I couldn't decipher. I planned to send him a special gift. Before I could process that, a violent, tearing pain erupted in my lower abdomen. It hurt so much I collapsed to the floor. Cold sweat drenched my body instantly. Ivy stood up and half-crouched in front of me, her ice-cold fingers gently stroking my face, her tone soft, like a lover's whisper. "This is my wedding gift to him." What did she mean? Ivy was killing me for Julian. My knuckles turned white as I gripped the table leg, the words squeezing through my gritted teeth. What? Ivy's eyes were devoid of light. "Because the only light in my life is gone. I no longer have the right to like him. But I'm afraid that after I die, you might hurt him. So, I came up with a perfect solution. You're coming with me." The pain rendered me speechless. My heart felt like it was being pierced by 1,000 needles, bleeding profusely. Survival instinct took over my brain. I grabbed Ivy's coat tight. She pried my fingers open, one by one. She broke my last straw of hope. "Caleb Sterling, I know you were good to me, but I loathe you. I loathe every time you gave me money, insulting me. I loathe that high and mighty air you have, looking down on everyone." A flash of hatred crossed Ivy's eyes. "I often think, if my mother hadn't met you that day, she wouldn't have forced me to marry you. Then Julian and I wouldn't have missed out on all those years. All of this is because of you. Caleb, why couldn't you just die sooner?" It turned out that my kindness was what she hated most. It must have been hard for her to pretend for 10 years. I laughed until tears came out, the burning sensation in my stomach intensifying. In my final moments, my mother's fierce, sharp face floated before my eyes. "Caleb, if you insist on marrying her, don't call me Mom anymore. I'm sorry, Mom. I shouldn't have disobeyed you. If I could do it all over again, I would never choose to marry Ivy Thorne." When I opened my eyes again, I was standing in the alley in front of Ivy's old house. Had I been reborn? Before I could feel any joy, a man's angry shouting came from not far away. "You useless waste of space. You can't even keep an eye on your mother. You're absolutely worthless. I regret ever fathering you." The shouting was mixed with the sound of a wooden club striking flesh. I looked up. 18-year-old Ivy Thorne was rolling on the ground as her father beat her with a plank. The frail, pitiful girl was wearing worn-out clothes, her exposed skin bruised purple and blue. I remembered my past life. My first interaction with Ivy was right here. Seeing her being abused and not fighting back, I had rushed over without thinking, shielding her. "Hey, how can you hit a person like that?" Her dad had been relentless, but seeing my expensive clothes, he immediately beamed, saying it was all a misunderstanding. "Ivy, is this your classmate? Why didn't you introduce us?" I disliked his sharp, mean face, so I forcibly took Ivy to a clinic on the next street to treat her wounds. The old doctor treated her while gossiping about Ivy's family. How her mom ran off with a lover, how her dad gambled away the house. Back then, I just complained to the doctor about how extreme her father was, never noticing that she had lowered her head in utter shame. Ivy must have started resenting me right then. So, this time, I wouldn't help her. I gave a cold, indifferent glance and prepared to walk past quickly. Behind me, Ivy's weak voice drifted out. "Caleb Sterling." I walked faster. I ran all the way back to school in one breath. I didn't go to the cafeteria for lunch. I went straight back to the classroom. Sitting at my desk, opening my textbook, I felt like a lifetime had passed. This time, I was going to study hard and make up for the regrets of my past life. The bell rang, and Ivy and Julian walked in from outside, talking and laughing. The tenderness in her eyes seemed ready to overflow. Julian returned to his seat, mouthing words to Ivy, reminding her to be careful with her arm. But I clearly remembered they weren't that close yet at this time. I suddenly recalled Ivy calling my name in the alley. Before that, she was beaten half to death and hadn't made a sound. The only explanation was that she had been reborn too. But I didn't take it to heart because, in the first period of the afternoon, our homeroom teacher, Mrs. Gable, was going to assign seats based on grades. Ivy and I would end up as desk mates. The gears of fate turned at this exact moment. Just like in the previous life, the whole class was called out into the hallway. She read names according to the monthly exam results. Julian was first in the class and chose the second row in the center. Ivy was ranked 14th. By the time she went in, the seats around Julian were taken. She could only choose a seat in the fourth row of the next group. From her angle, she could see Julian's profile perfectly. Before, I thought she chose it randomly, but now I realized it was premeditated. Julian was the only person before me who treated her well. Handsome, kind, excellent grades. It wasn't strange she'd fall for him. Soon, Mrs. Gable called my name. Being last, I had no choice. The only empty seat was next to Ivy. She always wore the same clothes, and classmates thought she was unhygienic and didn't want to sit with her. Only I'd been carefree about it. Later, after I fell for Ivy, I knew her family was poor, so I used my allowance to buy her the designer brands my cousin loved. My kindness inexplicably shattered her fragile self-esteem. I can only say some people simply didn't deserve my kindness. I glanced at Ivy. She didn't look at me, seeming to anticipate I would sit next to her. But I wasn't willing to repeat the same mistakes. I raised my hand toward Mrs. Gable. Mrs. Gable, I don't want to sit next to Ivy. Ivy turned to look at me in confusion. Mrs. Gable didn't want to set a precedent. Caleb, wait until your grades improve next time, then you can choose. For now, just sit next to Ivy. Insista. No. Sitting next to her will only affect my studies. Sparse laughter erupted in the classroom, as if I were telling a joke. In the front, Julian looked at me with a meaningful expression. It didn't matter if they didn't believe me. I had confidence. In my past life, I got into medical school for Ivy. I could certainly get into Yale for myself. Mrs. Gable pushed up her glasses. Ivy's grades are good enough to tutor you. Isn't it good to ask her if you don't understand something? I had no patience to negotiate with Mrs. Gable. If you don't agree, I'll have my mother give you a call. Mrs. Gable stopped trying to persuade me instantly. She had a girl in the third-to-last row swap seats with me. The moment I sat down, I started studying. Although I had memories from my past life, I had been away from my student days for a long time, and I had to review a lot of knowledge from scratch. Diving into the ocean of knowledge, you realize time is never enough. I didn't even hear the bell ring until Ivy knocked heavily on my desk. Caleb, I need to talk to you. I didn't want to go, but I figured some things were better said sooner rather than later. Ivy and I walked to the end of the hallway. You were reborn too, weren't you? Ivy asked me expressionlessly. I didn't hide it. I just nodded. Her hands clenched into fists, her gaze turning dark and hostile as she stared at me. I killed you. If you want revenge, take it out on me. I couldn't wait to interrupt her. Relax. I won't take revenge on anyone. Dying at your hands was my own fault. Given a second chance, I just want to study hard and fix my past regrets. My mom had advised me to break up with Ivy. Colleagues had advised me. Everyone around me had advised me. They all said Ivy didn't like me, but I insisted on having my way. So, ending up like that was what I deserved. I had no right to hate anyone else. Ivy stared at me blankly. She didn't seem to believe these words were coming from my mouth. But I wasn't going to explain anything to her. With that time, I could solve 2 more math problems. As I turned to leave, Ivy called out to me again. Caleb, I'm sorry for what happened before. Once I'm with Julian, I'll compensate you. I turned sideways, looking at my reflection in the window glass, and couldn't help but sneer. So, can I kill you and then apologize to you? Ivy froze. You still? I turned fully to face her. I don't need your compensation. If it's money, my family has more than we can spend. And you have nothing else that could possibly compensate me. So, I don't need it, and I don't want it. Just as Ivy said, she wanted to make up for her regrets with Julian. As soon as class ended, she went over to him under the guise of asking questions to get close. I wanted to use the break to do another English reading comprehension passage, but the loud laughter from the front was making it impossible to focus. I frowned in annoyance and looked over. Only then did I notice Ivy had miraculously changed into new clothes. Seeing me look over, Julian said kindly, "Caleb, do you need to borrow my English notebook? It has all the key points I organized. I remember your English grades aren't great. This might help you improve faster." A classmate nearby mocked, "It's not just his English that's bad. Everything else is bad too." "Forget it, Julian. Can Caleb even understand those notes? Stop being such a saint. Some people just like to pretend they're something they're not." Julian interrupted them with a somber face. "Don't say that about Caleb. What if he suddenly improves and proves you all wrong?" This sentence made me frown. My gaze swept over the classmates mocking me. We weren't close, but they hated me. Come to think of it, I wasn't a troublemaker. Yet in my past life, I was inexplicably isolated by the whole class. Except for Ivy, no one spoke to me. That was also when I fell for Ivy. Her pure profile, her melancholic eyes, the warmth she inadvertently revealed. It all became my only salvation. Thinking back now, Julian was probably behind that isolation too. Then I certainly wasn't going to give him a friendly face. I stretched lazily. Save your breath. My mother hired a private tutor. Julian lived in my house. He knew perfectly well I said that on purpose. He looked aggrieved. "Caleb, I didn't mean anything by it." I didn't speak again. He needed to learn to take a hint. Ivy, unable to bear seeing the person she liked being rejected, called my name again. "Caleb, Julian was kind enough to lend you his notes. Even if you don't appreciate it, you should at least say thank you." He offered, so I had to accept. I gave her a cold, one-word reply. Scram. After school, I was packing my things. Julian walked up to me, his fingers tightly gripping his backpack straps, and asked quietly, "Caleb, can I ride with you this time? Every time I take the bus, I get back so late." I was mentally listing which books to take home and didn't even look up. "Not going your way." Rejection blunt. Julian lowered his head in disappointment, giving the illusion of being isolated and helpless. He blinked innocently. "Caleb, do you hate me?" In the past life, Julian and I stayed out of each other's way. Although I disliked him, I kept my moral baseline. After what just happened, knowing how much Julian had backstabbed me, the fact that I hadn't physically attacked him showed my upbringing was impeccable. Reborn, I only wanted to study. Seeing I wasn't engaging, he left with red eyes. But Ivy fell for that act completely. Her heart nearly broke for him. As soon as I walked out of the classroom, Ivy grabbed my collar and dragged me into a corner. The fabric choked me, making it hard to breathe. "Caleb Sterling, you promised me you wouldn't bully Julian." I gasped, my neck turning red. "If you're sick, go see a doctor. Don't act crazy here. I think you're looking for a death wish." Ivy was convinced I was bullying Julian. Red-eyed, she dragged me toward the equipment room, completely ignoring my struggles. "Ivy, let go of me." Just then, Julian came down from upstairs. He stumbled upon the scene. "You guys." Ivy released me, as if electrocuted. I swept a cold glance at her, said nothing, and walked away. I didn't stop until I reached the school gate. My mom always arranged for a driver to pick me up, but he hadn't arrived yet. While waiting for the car, Ivy and Julian came out of the gate too. Julian said goodbye first. Ivy looked at him reluctantly, the affection in her eyes practically visible, strings connecting them. In the past life, I wasn't unaware she loved Julian. They say time heals all wounds, and I was the only fool who believed it. I thought I could warm Ivy's heart with devotion. But I was wrong. Her heart was harder than stone, impossible to warm. I withdrew my gaze, only to see Julian walking toward me. He brazenly asked again, "Caleb, really, can I not ride with you?" Before, he often tried to get on my good side. Because of Ivy, I felt a barrier and ignored him. But this time, I hooked my lip into a smile and agreed readily. Sure, the person picking me up today wasn't the driver. 10 minutes later, our family's Mercedes stopped at the school gate. The window rolled down, revealing my mother's beautiful, sharp face. Julian, seeing my mother, shook like a mouse seeing a cat. Aunt Victoria." My mom glanced at him lightly. "Don't call me Aunt. We aren't close." My mom gave him zero face. Julian's complexion turned instantly pale. He picked at his palms, looking lost, as if he might cry the next second. In front of my mother's razor-sharp tongue, he had no chance. Actually, I couldn't blame my mom. Julian was my late father's illegitimate son. Before my dad died, he forced my mom to take Julian in, so his position in my house was very awkward. Seeing my mom again, my emotions were a roller coaster. "Mom, let him ride back with us today." My mom just looked at me. "Get in." Julian, standing to the side, refused with red eyes. "Caleb, I'll just take the bus. I won't disturb you, and Ms. Sterling." My mom hadn't liked Julian for a long time. He didn't want to ask for trouble, so he trotted away, disappearing from my view. On the way home, neither my mom nor I spoke, both staring out at the scenery. Vaguely, I saw a familiar figure getting into a luxury car. Was that Julian? Before I could figure it out, my mom got out of the car. Not long after, she returned and stuffed a bag into my arms. I looked down. It was pastries from the Golden Hearth. She had made a detour to go there. Didn't you keep saying you wanted some? I knew this was my mom softening up first. We had been in a Cold War for 2 months over my applying to Yale. I took a bite, the familiar taste filling my mouth. Because I liked it, my mom had bought a steak in the Golden Hearth. Thinking of the stupid things I did in my past life, I couldn't help but tear up. My mom thought I was bullied at school and slammed on the brakes in a panic. Caleb, what's wrong? I wiped my tears, mouth still full of pastry. Nothing, it's just been so long since I had this. I missed it. My mom didn't believe it at all. Is someone bullying you at school? Tell me the truth. I'll call Mrs. Gable. I swallowed quickly and shook my head. No. I just thought about how I've been fighting with you about Yale, and I felt sad. I fought with my mom countless times. First, because I couldn't get in. Second, because I felt she was insulting me. Later, falling for Ivy, I told my mom I wanted to go to medical school with Ivy. That night, we had the biggest fight of our lives. Even now, I remember the disappointment in her eyes. The first time I saw my strong mother secretly wiping away tears. My mom used a tissue to wipe my face. If you don't want to apply to Yale, Mom won't force you. I just feel you absolutely have the potential to get in. I sniffled. No, I promise you. I will get in. My mom didn't doubt the sincerity of my words. She smiled with relief. Good. I felt my mom's mood lighten significantly for the rest of the drive. She even put on some music, which was rare. By the time we got back, the sky was dark. Just as she parked, a Rolls-Royce pulled up next to us. Seeing the person get out, both my mom and I froze. And opposite us, Julian froze too. A high school student getting out of a luxury car. It was hard not to speculate. But then the owner got out and intimately wrapped her arm around Julian's waist, smiling and exchanging pleasantries with my mom about business. The woman was about 40, with a husband and son, and not divorced. The more I looked, the more familiar she seemed. I subconsciously asked, Mrs. Vance, you run that entertainment company, right? The woman smiled and said yes. I remembered. In the past life, Julian's backer was her. She was the one who spent money to make Julian a trending star. Julian's face went a few shades paler. He never expected to bump into us. He didn't dare lift his head like a child caught doing something wrong. Ms. Sterling, Caleb. My mom gave him a cold look, then pulled me away. No need to explain to us. Actually, I didn't know Julian was being kept as early as high school. He had always given me the impression of a sunny youth. But looking at it now, he wasn't sunny at all. Maybe from the moment he let my mom take him in, he was planning to climb the social ladder. After all, no one wants to live under someone else's roof forever. After returning home, my mom didn't cut off Julian's allowance. Because of this, she continued giving him his monthly $1,000. However, Julian surprisingly knocked on my bedroom door. I saw him standing outside. What is it? Julian bit his lip. Caleb, can you please not tell anyone about what you saw tonight? Even if Julian hadn't emphasized it, I wouldn't have said anything. We weren't exactly enemies yet. I nodded, intending to close the door, when I heard Julian continue. Caleb, I'm not like you. You were born surrounded by stars. I have to rely on my own efforts for everything. A single rumor could crush me. I want to be pampered by family like you are, and I don't want to be a kept boy, but I have nothing. Was he morally gaslighting me? My mother had been more than benevolent toward him. Though it didn't compare to what I got, she never shortchanged him on living expenses. He chose to degrade himself, yet slapped on such a high-sounding excuse. Utterly laughable. The final stretch of senior year was intense. I didn't have time to worry about other things, focusing every day on practice exams. I just wanted to change the fate of my past life. Meanwhile, Ivy and Julian's relationship grew closer. During the long breaks, she would actively buy water and snacks for Julian. They went to and from school together. Occasionally, I'd see Ivy walking Julian to the bus stop. Seeing me staring blatantly at them, Ivy subconsciously shielded Julian behind her, afraid I would do something to him. I just withdrew my gaze indifferently. Seeing the scene now, my heart was completely still. If it were the past life, I would have definitely caused a scene with Ivy. But now, I was an emotionless studying machine. However, I noticed Ivy was wearing the designer clothes I had bought her in the previous life. I remembered that brand was expensive. Where did she get the money? I was only puzzled for a second before shifting my attention. Because the midterm results were out, I had squeezed into the top 5 of the class. Ivy was 1 rank ahead of me. Julian had dropped out of the top 10. and I was still a few dozen points shy of Yale's projected cutoff. As soon as the report card was published, many classmates suspected I cheated, though none dared to say it to my face, only whispering in private. However, that day coming out of the restroom, passing the office, I heard Julian asking Mrs. Gable, Caleb suddenly shot from the bottom of the class to the top 5. Does he have some secret study method? He was practically making a formal report to the teacher, implying I cheated. Mrs. Gable thought Julian genuinely wanted to know my method, so she suggested I share it at the next class meeting. This didn't achieve the effect Julian anticipated at all. He tried another angle. Teacher, don't you think his grades improved too fast? In just half a month, can someone really memorize that many key points? He was immediately shut down by Mrs. Gable. You should worry about why you slipped so much first. Although I couldn't see Julian's face, I knew it must be ugly. Hearing footsteps, I deliberately waited for him outside. Julian froze when he saw me. Caleb, why are you here? I glanced at him lightly. Next time you snitch, try to be a bit more subtle. Julian's face suddenly flushed red. Caleb, listen to me explain. You misunderstood me. I didn't want to hear his explanation. Just as I walked out of the school building, someone grabbed my arm. I focused my eyes. It was Ivy's dad, Frank Thorne. In my past life, I didn't interact with him until college. Frank let go, looking slightly embarrassed. Son-in-law, I didn't hurt you, did I? A strong smell of stale tobacco hit me. As soon as he opened his mouth, I instinctively took 2 steps back. Son-in-law, my first reaction was that Frank had also been reborn. Suppressing my nausea, I said, Sir, you have the wrong person. Frank chuckled, revealing yellowed teeth. Young man, don't be shy. Ivy told me everything. She said she's dating you. Not reborn? But when was I dating Ivy? I kept my attitude polite. Sir, you really are mistaken. Ivy and I are just regular classmates. Seeing I wouldn't admit it, Frank opened the photo gallery on his phone. He compared my face with the boy in the photo. That's right, it is you. I looked and was shocked. It was indeed a photo of me. Frank seemed to realize something, anger rising on his face. He grabbed me by the neck. I get it. My daughter spent so much money on you, and now you want to dump her? You little punk, come with me to find your teacher. I was dragged to the office. The teachers hadn't left yet. Frank shoved me in front of Mrs. Gable. Mrs. Gable, look at your good student, deceiving my daughter's feelings. My daughter said she's dating Caleb Sterling and asked me for thousands of dollars to buy him things. Now he takes the stuff and won't acknowledge her. His voice was loud, causing other teachers to look over. Although I hadn't done it, I still felt utterly humiliated. In this life, the last thing I wanted was to be involved with Frank Thorne. The man was obsessed with money and status. In my past life, he privately asked me for money to pay gambling debts countless times, totaling millions. Now I felt like a massive sucker. My face flushed red. I told you, you have the wrong person. My family background is such that I wouldn't even look at your daughter's few $1,000s. Frank was dismissive, insisting I was a snob. Mrs. Gable, knowing my background well, suggested, let's call Ivy in and ask her face to face. Frank immediately called Ivy. She didn't want to come, but Frank bellowed, if you don't get here, I'll beat you to death. 15 minutes later, Ivy arrived. Her face was still glowing with a happy smile, but seeing me in the office, the smile stiffened. Before Ivy arrived, I guessed why Frank misunderstood. She must have used the excuse of dating me to get money from him. Otherwise, where did all those designer clothes come from? It was disgusting. Mrs. Gable asked directly, Ivy, are you and Caleb dating? Ivy didn't speak. She looked at me expectantly. I knew she hoped I would cover for her. If I didn't go along with it, Frank wouldn't let it go. But why should I help her? I turned my head away, my refusal obvious. If I repeated the same mistake, I'd be a moron. With no other choice, Ivy had to grit her teeth and admit it. Yes, Caleb and I are dating. Frank clapped his hands in delight. See? I told you they were dating. Still denying it? So what if you're from a rich family? Bad character is bad character. Only my daughter would want you. You should be grateful. Mrs. Gable and the other teachers looked at me. Caleb, is this true? I couldn't believe my ears. Ivy actually said that. She could pursue her love, but why did she have to use my reputation to pay for it? I laughed coldly. You say we're a couple? Then show me the evidence. Prove you spent a single cent on me. Frank saw I wasn't giving up. Daughter, take out the transfer records and throw them in his face. I want to see how tough his mouth is then. Ivy couldn't produce any records. First, we weren't a couple. Second, that money was spent on her and Julian. Seeing Ivy hesitate, Frank shoved her impatiently. Show the records. Ivy reluctantly took out her phone. She showed everything except the transfer records to Frank. Frank felt incredibly proud, showing every teacher one by one. Look, this is the money my daughter spent on him, and he still denies it. Just as Frank aimed his gun at me, my mom arrived. What is going on? My mental age was over 30, but seeing my mom at that moment, my eyes still lit up. Mom. Seeing my mom dressed impeccably, Frank went up to butter her up, recounting the story with added embellishments, claiming I had bad morals and cheated his daughter emotionally. My mom asked just one sentence. Is what he said true? I shook my head. No. My mom didn't ask further. She walked up to Ivy. I advise you to tell the truth. Otherwise, I will initiate legal proceedings. You don't want to ruin your future at such a young age, do you? Ivy was so nervous her palms were sweating. No matter how many times she saw my mom, she was intimidated by her presence. Frank wasn't happy. He blocked Ivy. You're threatening my daughter. My mom pushed Frank aside. I'm talking to your daughter, not you. You'd best show some manners. Frank started. Reborn. Ivy couldn't give up her future. She had to tell the truth. I'm sorry, Mrs. Sterling. I lied just now. Caleb and I are not in a relationship. Frank thought Ivy was scared. He grabbed her to continue arguing, but she shook him off. Dad, my boyfriend is someone else, not Caleb. Frank's eyes widened. He slapped Ivy hard across the face, ready to beat her right in front of all the teachers. Who is the bastard? Frank gave Ivy no face at all. Slaps, kicks. If he hadn't lacked a weapon and Mrs. Gable hadn't intervened, she would have been beaten to a pulp. Even so, Ivy never mentioned Julian's name. But why would I let her have her way? Perhaps, sir, you should go ask Julian Sterling. I didn't look at Ivy's expression. I took my mom and left. I had no reason to be the scapegoat for her romance. The next day, I heard from my desk mate that Frank forced Ivy to take him to Julian that night. Accusing him of seducing Ivy, he slapped him twice, so hard he knocked out 2 front teeth. The whole school knew about it. When Julian came into the classroom the next day, his face was swollen high. My desk mate couldn't help laughing out loud. Hearing it, Julian buried his head on his desk and cried aggrievedly. Not long after, Ivy asked Mrs. Gable to drop out. I heard Frank wouldn't let her attend school anymore, saying if she didn't drop out, he'd beat her to death. Mrs. Gable didn't even try to persuade her. She agreed immediately. Actually, Ivy had high talent in medicine. If she followed the trajectory of the past life, she would certainly have made outstanding contributions to the field. It was a pity to lose an excellent doctor. That was all. After Ivy dropped out, I rarely saw her again. It was as if she had faded out of my life. Until one night, while walking my dog, I accidentally saw her looking for Julian. I wanted to leave, but then I heard Ivy getting emotional. Julian, it's not like I can't support you. Why do you have to degrade yourself and be with her? Julian sneered. Support me? With what? By continuing to scam your dad for money? Or by working in a factory sewing clothes for $3,000 a month? Ivy, I'm not looking down on you, but my monthly allowance is $10,000. Do you really think you're in my league? Ivy looked at Julian in shock. So you never liked me? Then why did you help me when I was being isolated? Julian laughed coldly. I would have helped anyone. Who knew you'd get moved and fall for me? Also, don't contact me again. I loathe you enough already. So, Ivy wanted to surprise Julian, only to catch him embracing his sugar mama. In that moment, Ivy realized the man she had loved for 10 years never loved her. Or perhaps from the beginning, he only pitied her. In the last life, I loved Ivy but couldn't have her. In this life, she loved Julian but couldn't have him. Karma, I suppose. I had no interest in eavesdropping further, and I wanted to pull the dog back. But my dog suddenly lunged. Woof! Ivy looked utterly soulless, like she had lost her spirit. It made sense. In the past life, she was my entire world. She enjoyed the sensation of being worshipped. How could she accept this drop? Julian, however, looked at me nervously. Caleb, he was afraid I would tell his sugar mama. I cut him off immediately. Relax, I won't say anything. Just as I bent down to pick up the dog, Ivy called out to me. Caleb Sterling, don't you like me? What did that mean? Treating me as a backup plan? I said icily. Are you delusional? How could I possibly like you? Can a man fall into the same pit twice? Julian didn't have memories of the past life. He didn't understand the situation and asked blankly, Ivy, what do you mean? Ivy treated Julian like air. She grabbed me. Caleb, let's live happily in this life. You loved me for 10 years. How can you just stop liking me? I laughed in anger. I hadn't forgotten the look of disgust she gave me. Now she wanted to use me to spite Julian? I raised my hand and slapped Ivy across the face. Ivy Thorne, have you no shame? I went home and showered immediately, afraid I caught a virus. While drying my hair, I recalled the past life. Why did I like Ivy? Just because she was the only one who reached out to me? Maybe it was that cold, broken aura she had that made me involuntarily want to treat her better. In the end, unrequited love became my obsession. So, girls should really find someone who loves them. Since that day, I often ran into Ivy on my way to school. She was wearing a factory uniform, looking gray and dusty, having lost her former radiance. It was obvious she was living poorly. Without me, Frank's gambling debts were a bottomless pit. She had no money to fill it. I intended to walk around her as usual, but this time she called me. Gah. Lep. Her voice was very light, very gentle. It made me daze for a moment. I stopped. What? Ivy clenched her fists, hesitating. Caleb, I want to ask, is there still a chance for us? I looked up at Ivy. Her eyes were dull, just like when she found out Julian was getting married, soulless. But Ivy was no longer worthy of me. I even regretted ever liking her. My entire focus shifted to studying. In the mock exams, I broke into the top 10 of the grade. My mom wiped away tears of relief. Caleb, I knew you could do it. Actually, my mom didn't want to force me to go to Yale. It was just her deep obsession. She had missed the acceptance cutoff by 1 point back in the day. So she pinned her hopes on me. But since I had bad grades growing up, she only wanted me to promise her to give her a mental comfort. Who knew I actually had a shot? Julian, seeing this, gave me fake praise, saying I was amazing and had a hope for Yale, then casually told my mom he was going to become a trainee idol. My mom wouldn't stop him anyway. He was just notifying her. I wasn't surprised. In the past life, Julian went to be a trainee right before the college entrance exams. Back then I didn't think much of it, just thought he was making a bad choice. Now I felt he had his own plans. After the fake pleasantries, Julian went upstairs. I prepared to do a few more problems. Just after finishing 2, I heard someone calling my name downstairs. Caleb, Sterling. I looked from upstairs. It was Ivy. She was drunk, swaying unsteadily. I didn't want to go down, but if I didn't, she would keep calling my name. Worried about disturbing the neighbors, I had to go down. Then I saw my mom coming down in her pajamas. She grabbed me. Caleb, don't go. I've been having dreams lately that you cut off ties with me because of Ivy. I'll call security to chase her away. I froze, looking up at my mom. There were wrinkles at the corners of her eyes. I gently patted her hand. Mom, it's okay. Dreams are the opposite of reality. Living a second life. How could I bear to disappoint the mother who loved me most? Seeing me appear, Ivy stumbled over. Gah. Leb, it's all my fault. I was stupid. I didn't see Julian's true colors, and I hurt you again and again. Can you forgive me? Hearing these words, my heart remained completely still. She was heartbroken by Julian, so she remembered my past kindness. But no one is willing to wait in the same spot forever. I decided to make things clear tonight. Otherwise, Ivy would keep harassing me. The entrance exams were in 2 weeks. I didn't have time to deal with her. I looked up at Ivy. Ivy Thorne, do you know there's a life debt between us? You kill me with your own hands. How big do you think my heart is to accept my murderer as my future wife? Even if she hadn't killed me, I wouldn't choose her again. It was too exhausting. Ivy stared at me blankly, her lips moving. Then what if I pay you back with a life? I took it as angry rambling. Whatever, just don't come looking for me again. After that day, I never saw Ivy again. Maybe she figured it out and stopped pestering me. But the day before the big exam, I received a text from an unknown number. I will do whatever you want for you. My sixth sense told me it was Ivy, but with the exam tomorrow, I threw it to the back of my mind. The exam went smoothly. I estimated my score would be about 20 points over last year's cutoff. I was safe. My mom came to pick me up personally, her arm around my shoulder. It's okay. Whether you get into Yale or not isn't important. Mom saw your effort, and I'm already satisfied. Clearly, she was the nervous one, but I didn't expose her, just said okay. My mom took me to eat at the Golden Hearth. While waiting for the food, a picture message suddenly popped up on my phone. It scared me so much I almost threw the phone. Julian was lying in a pool of blood, his eyes staring dead at me. Immediately after, Ivy's text popped up. Caleb, I killed Julian to pay you back a life. I proved to you that I will never love him. So, can we be together now? Cold sweat poured down me. How could Ivy be so extreme in this life? The person who killed me was her. She actually thought I blamed Julian? Did she think she was faultless? I froze for a long time before calming down, then called the police. This time, I wouldn't make the wrong decision. 2 days later, Ivy was arrested. However, she was diagnosed with mental illness and couldn't be executed, only confined to a psychiatric hospital. I thought maybe in this life, having ruined her future for Julian and destroyed her reputation, she couldn't accept the drop. Maybe she didn't really want to be with me, but wanted to use me to turn her life around. Actually, any of them were possible. But I was glad that in this life, I had no ties to her. The day the exam results came out, my mom was more nervous than me, dragging me to sit in front of the computer. Oh my, why aren't the results out yet? It's killing me. It was my score, yet she was more anxious. I had to comfort her. Relax, it should be soon. When the score actually appeared, my mom didn't dare look. You look. How much is it? I glanced at the score. 1580. It was within my expectations. My mom almost jumped up in excitement, hugging and kissing me. Later, when filling out applications, I put down Yale as I wished, making up for the regrets of 2 lifetimes. During summer break, I went to see Ivy once. She was thin as a rail. I almost didn't recognize her. This was her own doing. God gave her a chance to start over, but she only thought about romance. Fortunately, this time, I made the right choice.